Hello, hello. Today I've got with me Paul Childers, who helps people with business credit. So we're going to get into what all that means. But Paul, thanks for taking some time out of your day to chat with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one because this is a little bit different from some of the member spotlights we've done up to this point. Just the nature of the subject isn't something that you hear about every day, but it is important for entrepreneurs. So to get us started, give us a sense of what it is that you do. I'm going to ask you, Paul, in 60 seconds or less to give us your best elevator pitch. So if we just met for the first time, I said, Paul, nice to meet you. What do you do for work? What would you say?
Yeah, what I do is I help business owners separate out their personal assets and finances from their business by building a robust credit profile utilizing their EIN and getting them access to credit without ever having to sign as a personal guarantor on loans or credit cards or anything like that again.
Okay. That might be a record for quickest elevator pitch so
I'm
far.
rehearsing.
Yeah, I think you were 14 seconds all in on that one. But there's a little bit to unpack there. So you mentioned not having to sign a personal guarantee when getting business credit. Now, we know that a lot of businesses at some point might need access to capital. You're going to need a good credit score to do that. But how that's different from your personal one, and the idea of not signing a personal guarantee, to be honest, is kind of foreign to me. I owned a business for 15 years. Every time I borrowed money, it was like a non-negotiable thing that you got to sign a personal guarantee, which is a little scary, to be honest. So that elevator pitch would be enough to catch my interest and say, okay, let's learn a little bit more about that. So you're doing good on that,
Yeah.
which takes us to the next one here. Then let's go ahead and unpack that a little bit. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. You're going to give me 3 answers, each of which 3 minutes or less. So we'll call this the lightning round. You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, here we go. What is business credit, and how do I know if my score is good?
Yeah, so this is probably one of the most common ones that I come across as I'm working with business owners. And it really doesn't matter if they've been in business for 1 year or less, or I've worked with some that have been around for 20 to 40 years. And what I've found out is that a lot of owners, if they've built any kind of business credit, have done so mostly by accident. So what it is it's a form of credit done through your EIN number, your employee identification number that you get when you set up your company. So if you're like a sole proprietorship, you probably didn't get one. But if you have an LLC or if you have a incorporation or a corporation, it's part of why we set those up in the first place, right? Was to separate our personal lives from our business because it is a legal person. So your EIN and your business credit score is literally just a mirror image of your personal credit score, just done differently in a sense. So when you build your business, you get a credit score, but it doesn't grow like what you do when you turn 18. You turn 18 and your personal credit starts to either go up or down, regardless kind of what you do. There is a little bit of influence that a human can have, but it's not so connected and so easy to follow as like business credit. Business credit, however, once you understand it and get an idea of what the path is, it's very intentional how you do it and how you accrue it. The difficulties come in knowing which lenders, creditors, and vendors to use and who you need to be tied to in order to have that all reporting accurately. And if you have those things meshed together, you can build it fairly quickly. So that's the piece that a lot of business owners I think struggle with, because prior to the SaaS tool that I bought into, what I found is that it's just there's so much information out there that to try to decipher and go through everything, a business owner, you're probably committing. I was committing an extra probably 20 hours a month or more while I was learning it.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem, right? So your business credit is that score tied to your business EIN, and it is separate of you as a individual. How do you know if it's good? Well, fact is most people don't know unless they know where to look. You can check on NAV, which is a business report. If you have ties to Business Experian or Equifax, that can give you an indication. Duns and Bradstreet will give you an indication. But really, what business owners don't know is that anybody that's pulling it to look at your business is going to pull what's called a CRA, which is like a credit report analysis through CreditSafe,
Mm-hmm.
which is just a third-party system that compiles all that data into a little form that you look at, and it just says this company is high risk for solvency or this company is low risk for solvency, basically based off of their trade lines and payment history and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what they look at. So your Duns and Bradstreet number might tell you one thing, but if it's not reporting accurately and we pull a credit report analysis, that credit report analysis might paint an entirely different picture. So
Okay.
you kind of got to partner the two things together, which is why it's so important in some cases to have almost a third party that is helping you monitor it, because there's so many different variations of data and information that gets pulled across.
Yeah, that's interesting because, when you said most people don't really know like where to check, I didn't. Like, I had some interaction with Dun and Bradstreet, I remember, during the 15 years in my IT business, and it always felt kind of like a weird racket thing where yeah. So knowing that there are other sources to get it, like a business version of Experian or whatever, that's interesting. And it's somewhat new to me that like this whole thing exists independent of you as an individual, and that certain customers or vendors or lending institutions are going to make decisions whether or not to work with you based on your credit history, it sounds like. So not to jump ahead of us, here's, I think, what we're going to unpack in this next question then is, why does it matter if I have good business credit? So sorry if I already kind of gave the answer away.
That's okay. To kind of touch on the Duns and Bradstreet, I truly think it is a racket what they do, because you pay them and they will artificially inflate your score, but as soon as you stop paying them, your score will get deflated.
Yeah, that's it. Like, that's the mafia.
Yeah,
basically.
and it's kind of garbage in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is what it is. You just have to know how to protect yourself, I guess. So why does it matter if I have good business credit? That is a great question, and I hear it often. And quite frankly, it really just depends on partially on what you want to do with it and what your goals are for your company, right? So you may be in a situation where it doesn't make sense for you. There are certain situations where it doesn't make sense to worry about it unless you really want to expand your company in a way or utilize it to grow and build kind of a realty empire or add units, fleet vehicles, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But the little unknown part that people don't realize is like commercial insurance. They will pull your business credit score, and if you have a high risk solvency rating on there, guess what? You're going to get put in their high premium bracket, and you will never know that because they get that from underwriting. They send that report to their insurance agent, and he just sends that back over to you. Hey, here's what I got back. And if we don't know any different, how do you ask any questions? What risk tier am I falling into?
So you're affected by your credit score on things that you wouldn't think are gonna, like, if I'm shopping insurance policies, I never once considered that my premiums are affected by my credit score because I'm not borrowing money. So what you're saying is it is connected.
It can be, yes.
Interesting.
Yep. So, and again, it depends on, some of the companies you go through, but the majority that I've talked to have all stated that in some capacity, they do look at your business's credit score, to see where you're at and what your ranking is. I was just working with a guy that was trying to get a contract set up with a supplier that does chemical supplying for him, and he kept getting denied. And finally, he was able to pin down his rep and just say, why do I keep getting denied? And he's like, you don't have any business credit. We're not going to do business with you.
That's interesting. Wow. Yeah. So the company that acquired mine, that was their practice, was anytime a new customer, wanted to do business with them, the first thing they had them do was actually fill out like a credit app so they could run it and see if these people pay on time or not, essentially. Mm-hmm. So, but as a small business, I didn't do that. But once I knew that was like a thing that you could do, it's like, oh, wow, that would have been good to know, especially for some of my non-paying customers.
Oh, absolutely. And even for the customers, like I was actually, you talk about IT, I was just talking to a company up in the cities that I have a friend that works for, and they have the same practice. And I said, when do you tell the business that you're planning to work with about this? And he's like, usually when we present the quote. And I was like, what if you did that as like a full transparency right up front? Because it may be that they actually do have a really qualified and creditable business.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's ever educated them about their business score, and it's probably something that I could help them fix in 2 to 3 months, while
Yeah.
you're filling out a quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, like I said, I went 15 years in business, and really, other than that cold call I got from Dun and Bradstreet and the bad things I heard from it, that's about the extent of my knowledge on it. So
yeah.
it's interesting that there's this whole world out there that can be affecting you and you don't even know it.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And just, for a business owner too, it's really building I always like to say it's like you work your right arm out all the time when you're doing your personal credit, so you got a nice, strong, robust right arm, and then your left arm just kind of is like limp noodle over on the other side.
Wasn't there like a Budweiser commercial or something, Doritos or something? Yeah.
And so, so building your business credit score is really like giving yourself a strong left arm so that, if you want to go and do stuff over here with another company, because whenever you start a new company, you will have to sign there are just certain instances where you can't get away from personal guarantees, but why not free that up to do that and then still be able to do the things you want to do with your other business because you have enough of a credit profile that you can walk in and get any kind of loan, line of credit, or whatever that you want, type of a deal.
Okay. So let's say someone's listening to this conversation, and up to this point they're going, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I should learn more about business credit and I should go do it myself. Then that leads to our third question. Is it really that hard to build business credit by myself? I mean, why do I need a guy like you? Not to be too blunt. But...
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I got a face for radio, so I totally understand. But the fact of the matter is, you necessarily don't, right? Like I refer people to a bunch of other resources. I follow Tyler Crandall. He's built a great empire through Credit Suite. He's who I followed when I was trying to learn this. But what I found is that even when you follow somebody like that, they still don't give you the one-on-one guidance to help you wade through the confusion and the frustration of, I just signed up for this credit card and 6 months later, I realized that they're only reporting to one place and it's not doing anything for me. Like Capital One business, not a great one to sign up for. Wells Fargo, and you don't find that stuff out unless you know where to look and who to ask. And he doesn't necessarily teach that in detail. So what caught my eye about Jay Galt and the SaaS tool that they have is the fact that it really takes all the hard lifting and the confusion out of it. When you sign up as a membership with us, we pair you with your own credit analyst who sits with you and gets to understand your unique business. And they will pair you with the right trade lines, lenders, and vendors that are going to give you the best leverage for what it is you're doing. You may be a landscaper, and there could be 2 different landscapers in the same area, but because of what they do and how they do it, they may be very unique and may not be qualified for the same lenders and vendors. So,
okay. And not to cut you off, but it sounds like if that same landscaper just walks into the closest bank to where he lives, he may not get the best product or service then.
Yeah, correct. And so that's why you would work with someone like myself, right? Like I'm going to be there right hand in hand with you. And then as I pair you and hand you off to a credit analyst, I still check in and make sure everything's going well. But the SaaS tool itself, it just simplifies things down to 7 steps. And you walk through each level. The first level of fundability is there's like 10 things that you need to make sure of that you have on your business. And that can be for a different day, but it's like, make sure your business email isn't, paulchilders@gmail.com. It should be paul@paulchilders.com. Make sure that your phone number is registered with 411. Make sure you have a business bank account. The amount of people I've come across that don't even have a business bank account is frightening in some ways when I'm talking with some, fresh entrepreneurs. And so just in some ways, you almost help them start and build a foundation for their business by doing it the right way, right off the bat. Because all of us have done it, myself included. You get caught up in the excitement of it and you just miss stuff.
Right.
And so it's just bringing that back to a fundamental 1 through 6, 1 through 7 steps of here's how we got to do this to build it right and set it up right.
Well, and this is the kind of stuff that, speaks to me because as first gens, that's like the whole theme here is like, we don't know what we don't know. And there's all these pitfalls that something as simple as having a phone number that syncs up to 411. Like I didn't know that could potentially hurt my business credit, which in turn could potentially hurt my ability to get good financing and all this other stuff. So that's like really enlightening to know that there's all these little things that you can help someone, kind of navigate that to make life easier for them as they go down this entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Ultimately, it's just to free yourself from the business, so so I think at the end of the day, you can go to sleep and be at peace that if something were to happen to you overnight, that your family isn't going to get, exposed to additional risks that they don't need to be.
Yeah, I think that probably holds a lot of people back. I mean, I signed a personal guarantee, and yeah, that's a pretty intense, thing to wrap your mind around as you're doing it, which means that you're much less likely, I think, to take risks. Not that you want to go crazy and take things that are too risky, but sometimes that risk reward system means that you gotta take a gamble sometimes, and that might give you some peace of mind that you don't have a personal guarantee tied to it.
Yeah, the gamble's just your business and the business collateral. So if something happens, all you lose is that. Hey,
not your house,
yeah,
right?
Your house, not your graduation fund, not your 401k, not your, and I could go down the list, right?
Right,
so really get your business back to what it was intended to be, which is its own separate legal entity, and get that corporate veil back, protecting you the way it should be.
I like it. That's really good. Not even something I knew was a thing. So that's really cool, Paul, that's what you help with. So we'll end it there. If you want to get in touch with Paul, here's his LinkedIn link. You can also send him a DM inside the community. I'll include these links in the post down below. But Paul, man, that's really informative, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to help illuminate this for all of us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just here to really help is all I'm trying to do.
All right, good deal, man. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, thanks.
Bye.